Let's talk about posture, what it means to me, and why it matters to you. So, when I say posture, I do mean how you align your body in space throughout various movements. So, of course, there's posture when you're standing. So, how am I holding my head on top of my shoulders when I'm standing? What is my back doing while I'm standing, right? When you sit down, that alignment naturally changes, inevitably changes. So, you have a different posture when you're sitting and a different type of alignment that you use when you sit. And then that applies to literally any motion you do throughout the day. So when you're walking, there's a certain alignment that you are in. When you're trying to do, I don't know, gardening or cooking or playing a sport or lifting weights, which is what I talk about here, you're going to have a posture. There's going to be a way you hold yourself in space and the way you move yourself through space. And what I want to focus on is the type of alignment that will benefit you to help you improve the movements that you're doing, to help you get more efficient, to improve your performance, and just overall to feel healthy, supple, and just like easy in your body. It should feel easy in your body. It should feel good and buttery, if you will. So, how to do that? Like, what does that mean? Like, you feel how you feel, right? So, let's first talk about what are some of the messages that we have received about posture throughout our life. And I know every single person ever has been told something about their posture. Again, how you hold yourself in space. So I'll tell my personal example and then go through a few others that I've heard. So I'm originally from Russia, Soviet Union. And when I was a kid, maybe 5 years old, like in kindergarten, we had a strange person come in. Turned out there was some sort of doctor or whatever to evaluate our backs for scoliosis. So, and they don't, this is just how they did it in Soviet Union. They didn't explain anything like that to the kids. They just lined us up, made us take off our shirts and bend down in front of this stranger that we've never met. So that was terrifying, first of all. So like already bad experience with having my posture checked. Okay. So in front of the whole group of kids in my kindergarten class, right? We're standing there in our underwear and they're checking out our back. So to check for scoliosis, they have you bend down to see if your spine curves sideways, like in sideways in this plane. And then they sort of make statements about your posture to the teacher, not to you. And you're just kind of listening as they talk about you in front of the whole group of kids. And so they checked me out for scoliosis. I didn't have scoliosis, but they noted that I have winging scapula, meaning my shoulder blades come off my back and they're sort of kind of like chicken wings. They sort of come off my back and, look sharp on my back. My shoulder blades look kind of sharp. They're not attached to my back, so to speak. So kind of indicating that this is not an optimal way to be standing. And then I was also kind of like leaning off to one side, like kind of sitting in my hip and having one leg kind of bent and one leg straight. And so they did address me directly and say directly to me that I'm standing wrong. I shouldn't stand like that. That it's not good posture, and I should do that. This is like me. I'm 5-year-old, in front of my class. All right, so like they call me out for having bad posture. And then I'm like, okay, what do I do with this information? So of course, as an impressionable kid, especially if you're like trying to please your, superiors in kindergarten or whatever, and like not knowing what to do with this information or how to even talk about it, right? I start trying to figure out a way to straighten up. And I have like no guidance. So I have some sort of posture alignment issue, right? So there's some way they're calling out that I don't have optimal alignment in my back, and the way I stand, I'm not balanced in my feet, and so on. Okay. So, what does a 5-year-old do with that? Because they certainly are not taking me through a movement exploration to figure out what feels best for me, which is how I ended up opening this business and, coaching the way I do. That's like probably my biggest origin story started then, right? So they give me no information. So as a kid, I'm thinking, well, what does stand up straight mean? Stand up straight. Like, you just start doing weird things that you're trying to interpret a cue, but you don't know how it's supposed to feel, right? So somebody tells you your posture is bad, stand up straight. What does stand up straight mean? Because I think I'm standing up straight right now. But you're saying that my posture is bad and I'm not standing up straight enough or whatever. What do I do with that information? So, I start doing things and kind of like flailing my rib cage open, trying to like close my back in the back, which opens, my rib cage in the front and just kind of makes me have a different wrong posture. So it affected me like literally throughout my life because I started to try to address, well, okay, if I have bad posture, how do I make it good? And me trying to interpret it as a kid led to more postural inefficiencies, led to more alignment issues as I try to figure out, well, what is it supposed to be? How am I supposed to look? How am I supposed to feel? Because when somebody assesses your posture, it's really easy for us to tell when somebody else if their posture is good or bad. And we can easily say, this person has great posture, this person has bad posture. But if you tell them that information, like, hey, you have bad posture. Hey, you have bad posture. They don't know how it's supposed to feel. You're telling them how it looks. You're giving them a cue to stand up straight, but that's how it looks to you. What is it supposed to feel like to them to hold their body differently? How do you align their body differently so that they can actually access that information as they move through space, as they go through life? That is the nugget. That is, to me, the most important piece of this discussion. So, posture should feel good, balanced, efficient, easy, right? So, this is what my movement explorations focus on, is how should stand up straight feel to you? This is where, is your head balanced? How do you know if your head is balanced? I can tell you if your head is balanced and your posture is good and your shoulder blades are on your back and all of that. I can tell you, but do you know? So when I go away and you go on about your day and you want to revisit your postural alignment, do you know exactly where you are supposed to focus, what it's supposed to feel like, where you're supposed to be? So this is everything to me, because that's empowering people to literally take ownership of their own body through body alignment. And the only way to do that is for people to literally know exactly how it's supposed to feel like. Where should there be tension? Where should I relax? All of this can be reworked, and you can move tension throughout your body to, release tension in your neck perhaps, and then kind of keep your head straight using a different set of postural muscles, like without getting into too many details. Like there's a ton we can do together. But what I'm really trying to convey is that we've all heard something like stand up straight, keep your shoulders back, pull your stomach in. Pull your stomach in. That sends you in a whole spiral of trying to interpret the words that somebody's saying to you based on how you look to them in terms of your alignment. But when you say pull your stomach in, somebody might, engage their core correctly and end up actually fixing the issue. But to a lot of us, pulling our stomach in actually deactivates the core musculature and actually hurts you in the long run, and you're sort of sucking your stomach in, preventing your breathing, and not actually standing up straight, and like hurting your alignment and being less optimal than when you started before you pulled your stomach in. Keeping your shoulder blades, shoulders back, same thing. When, shoulders back, well, here we are. Well, where should they be in relation to my head? I mean, maybe my shoulders were fine. And then you tell me to keep my shoulders back, and then I'm too far. right? So there's a certain feeling associated with your good body alignment that serves you, and then how you move through space, and then you notice those improvements in your strength and how supple you feel, and perhaps your neck is no longer hurting because your head is now balanced on top of your head, on top of your spine, and you're no longer using as much effort in your neck to keep your head up. Like, this has to feel to you, have to know what it feels like, rather than kind of engage this muscle, engage this muscle, engage this, like that does not um, help you feel like a complete, cohesive, optimized person when you're like, well, go ahead and squeeze here. And like you're squeezing, but then like everything else is like being affected and pulled to the side, and it does not serve you. So there's certain cues that we've all heard so many times that they go one ear and out the other, right? Stand up straight, keep your shoulder blades, sucking your stomach or pulling your stomach, whatever. Engage your abs, like whatever it is that that cue. They're all well intentioned, but they're all also extremely confusing. And so I made a video about this earlier, like called Frankenstein posture, because we end up in this predicament of, stand up straight. I might overinterpret, I might over exaggerate, and then keep your shoulders back, even more exaggeration, and then pull your stomach in, and then hips in, and then you just sort of like end up end up worse than when you started, because you're trying to follow these cues rather than bringing it back to body awareness and understanding, how should I feel? And so I have a simple cue in one of my videos, which is, we center the head and then we push into the top of the head. But there's a little bit of a discussion that we do, because where is the top of the head and how do we find it? And it really comes down to you feeling the balance in the front and in the back of your neck to see, okay, if I push in front here, it sort of makes me tense in the front of my neck, but not in the back, versus this way. It's just like, this doesn't feel good either. So somewhere between these 2 points is a top of my head, where when I press up, it's usually somewhere around kind of where your hairline spirals. When you push into the top of your head, you're going to feel engagement in the front and in the back of your neck, and then you're feeling somewhat centered, and then you're sort of like, oh, okay, if I do this, I actually feel taller, and then I feel maybe a little bit of an engagement throughout my core, and it's well spread out, so it's not like one side is engaging more than the other, front, back, side to side. You're introducing this balanced tension, and it's just enough to hold you upright, and kind of your skeleton is now balanced, requiring less of your muscles to be activated. And so that's what, to me, body alignment is. And then you're able to access that feeling throughout the different movements, because we don't go through life just standing up straight. We're constantly bending and shifting. I need to pick up something off the floor, just walking, whatever it is that you're doing. There's still a way to access this feeling of, my bones are aligned optimally for my muscles to fire, to do the thing I'm doing with the least amount of effort in the most efficient way. So that's how posture and body alignment then translate into literally everything you do throughout the day. And then, of course, there's like the obvious health impacts of body alignment, which is, if you look at our typical posture, this is anyone who works on a computer, anyone who's sitting there texting on their phone. So all of us, if you're watching this video, it's you. You're going to see this posture a lot, where our shoulders are forward and our head is in front of our body, no longer centered on top of our spine. And so our eyes now have to kind of look up, so our chin is kind of jutted out, right? So this is how I sit at the computer, honestly. Like, so coming back here, and I feel a difference. So you have kind of these several options that you can play with and convince yourself which one feels better to you. This is one I'm used to. But if I experience a more aligned posture, I can access an easier feeling, and my neck all of a sudden releases, right? So this is the kind of work we do together, and then you are now, in full, you have full information now of where it feels good to you to align your body. But going back to this sort of posture that we all have, where our neck is forward, our chin is kind of jutted out, our shoulders are falling forward, and this is where we type. You can immediately notice that in addition to just talking about muscles, my breathing apparatus, my lungs, my diaphragm, they're constricted, right? My breathing, my airways are constricted, and my eating passageway is constricted. So when you have poor alignment, it's not just muscles that are affected, it's not just joints, it's also your breathing, your digestion, your circulation. So this is not just for optimal sports performance, which of course, like, your body alignment affects your sports performance, but it's literally for how easy is it for you to intake oxygen so you can breathe better when your bones are stacked in a way that open up your lungs and give your diaphragm freedom to move up and down, for your blood and your lymph to circulate throughout your body without constriction, right? So body alignment has long reaching effects to all systems in our body, not just muscles, not just joints. I just happen to talk more about muscles and joints because we're talking about sports performance and lifting weights and being fit. But one other kind of tidbit to add here is, we've all heard that we should, have better posture or whatever, but again, for many reasons, we let it go one ear and out the other because stand up straight, it just doesn't resonate. It's not very actionable, right? So when I asked my husband, who's a car guy, why does good posture matter? Like, what does that mean to you? Why do you think it matters? He said, well, think about a car. If a car is out of alignment, you're going to have a lot of wear and tear. At first, it's going to start with the tires, but then it's also going to affect the engine components. So our health, our breathing, digestion, circulation. And then you're going to lose gas mileage. You're going to become less fuel efficient, right? So this is, again, going back, we're direct parallels here. And then your car, when it's out of alignment, overall becomes harder to drive, right? Of course, it's pulling you to the side, so you're constantly needing to adjust it. So this is where, like, we start to have breakdowns. This is where we start, if we're comparing it to what our bodies are doing, this is where we start to have aches, pains, and injuries. This is where we start to even develop some illnesses. And literally, like, your digestion is affected by the placement of your pelvis. And I've seen like even studies talking about babies and doing some adjustments for babies to improve their digestion when they're first born, if there is some sort of constriction in their spine. Like, this is not something I should have to prove to you, because obviously you just feel it. It's a feeling that you immediately find with alignment. You feel different. You feel healthier. So that car analogy, taking us to, our muscle and joint injuries, and then we have our various engine parts, our, breathing, circulation, and digestion. And then we have, mobility, flexibility. Like, of course, if your muscles are constantly tense, it's a lot harder for you to move in certain directions, right? So if you have constant neck tension, it's actually connected all the way to your hamstrings. So if you have chronically tight hamstrings, that's actually affected by how your neck is held in space and how your neck is, providing support for your head. So if we optimize the position of your body and how your head is supported by the rest of your body, you will notice a difference in your hamstrings. You will discover new mobility and flexibility. Again, your alignment will affect many systems throughout your body. And it's not just like stand up straight. It's just like how you move through space and how you access that alignment dynamically throughout whatever motion you're doing. Whatever you're doing, and it's whether it's eating or whether it's lifting a heavy weight. Because as you align your bones, and you're trying to lift something heavier, you're able to recruit more muscles if your bones are aligned and your muscles are able to fire efficiently. So keep repeating the point, but I think it's a really good one. And then, finally, the car analogy to take us to its logical conclusion. If we ask the car to drive faster, that bad alignment will show up faster as well. So if we want the car to perform and the car is out of alignment, it's going to break down much faster because we're asking more of it because of that wear and tear. So it's going to perform worse and it's going to break faster. And so this is where we enter our, we want to get back into fitness. We want to start lifting more weights. We want to get back into running, whatever. And if we don't address that postural alignment at the beginning, then we will amplify it as soon as we do something more intense with our bodies. So you sign up for a boot camp fitness class, but you have a certain posture that has been, sitting at the desk and you're just used to being a little bit forward, your neck is off center. It's going to place even more stress on those joints and on those muscles, and you will develop seemingly random aches and pains. You might see, well, my knees are shot or my back is out, or, you will notice the muscle aches and pains that come out of your new bootcamp fitness class, but they could all be sort of addressed and made more, lessened, and you can be made more efficient if you address those body alignment issues up front, and then you can access more of your body's systems to help you through that class and get the most out of it. So when I say get the most out of your fitness class, I do mean optimize how your body moves through space using good postural alignment that you know exactly how to access because you know how good alignment feels. So that's what my methodology is all about.